Hey everyone, welcome back to Famous Unknown. For the past couple of days, about 3 to 6 days ago, BBC put up a news that Burkina Faso military has unalived about 100 civilians. Well, that's all lies. That's all fake lies. BBC and Human Rights Watch HRW, they put up those news. Those are fake. Let me tell you something. It was Burkina Faso's military team that were fighting Al-Qaeda extremists. And those extremists, Al-Qaeda people, retaliated by killing those civilians. They retaliated by killing those civilians. Okay? It was Al-Qaeda extremists that the Burkina Faso military were fighting. So it wasn't the military of Burkina Faso that ended up unalive those civilians. It was the Al-Qaeda extremists, and they retaliated by killing those civilians. How did the Al-Qaedans get there? Why are Burkina Faso fighting the Al-Qaedans? Recently, we also saw Donald Trump shaking hands with Al-Qaeda's leader in Syria. We all saw it. Donald Trump was shaking hands with Al-Qaeda's leader in Syria. And I thought that guy was a terrorist. Back then, that guy, there was a reward for that guy. Yeah, there was a reward on his head. That if you were able to find this guy, or if you can tell where this guy is, they were going to give you some money, millions of dollars. And all of a sudden, the guy is not a terrorist anymore, and Donald Trump shaking hands with this guy.
So I hope everyone's paying attention. Donald Trump in Saudi Arabia shook hands with the new self-appointed president of Syria, who's nom de guerre when he was fighting for the al-Nusra Front of Al-Qaeda is al-Jilani. I'll keep calling him al-Jilani. And he's not reformed. He's still Al-Qaeda. And his group, renamed HTS, that's running Syria right now, is out murdering Alawites and Christians and Shia and Druze, kidnapping young women and girls, taking them to Idlib and forcing them into sexual slavery. This is the guy that the U.S. and Israel, Qatar, UAE, Turkey, and others put into power in Syria in order to get rid of a secular and at least ostensibly socialist leader in Bashar al-Assad. Now, look at what's happening in Burkina Faso, which is now led by a revolutionary, Ibrahim Traore, who is now using the wealth, the great wealth of his own country for his own people. He's uniting with other African countries to create their own bank. He wants to manufacture their own cars instead of just being a third world country that provides raw materials for other countries to make cars, and then they have to buy those back. Of course, this is not sitting well with the West. And so what's happening? You're seeing Al-Qaeda trying to unseat him, committing acts of terrorism. The same group that the U.S. supported in Syria and is still supporting in Syria. Pay attention, because the Al-Qaeda and other jihadists like them are the foot soldiers of Western empire.
And Al-Qaeda fighting Burkina Faso military. Come on. Y'all think we are fools. We are not fools. So now we know who is doing this. It's the Westerners. It's the Westerners that are doing all these things to Burkina Faso. They want to find ways and means to get rid of my man, Ibrahim Traore. They want to find ways and means. So if you hear any news from any NGO, any HRW, like Human Rights Watch, they all lies. It's just propaganda. It's just propaganda. They won't say what is happening. They always want to find the negative part and associate everything with Burkina Faso, so that they can find ways and means and be like, this is what Burkina Faso is doing. So it's time for us to go in. But not this time around. We're not going to sit there for you to put up a negative news. I have a lot of videos to prove. Let's go watch some of the videos.
So it looks like the BBC is continuing the time-honored European tradition of smearing independent African leaders to justify regime change. Here they're citing a report from Human Rights Watch accusing Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso of unaliving over 100 civilians. But I've learned that when it comes to Human Rights Watch, you have to read beyond the headlines, because they are very tricky in the way that they lie about global events. And if you read the fine print here, you'll see that Traoré's forces were actually fighting against Islamist extremists aligned with Al-Qaeda. And after this attack was launched, the Islamist extremists responded by unaliving a bunch of civilians. And look at how Human Rights Watch frames this. They say that the Islamists were assisting the government. No, they were fighting the government. They were actively unaliving each other. And then when the government forced out the Islamists, they retaliated by unaliving a bunch of civilians. And then when BBC put that into a headline, they removed all of the context and made it sound like only the government was unaliving civilians. It's some of the most disgusting and reprehensible journalistic trickery I've ever seen, but this is par for the course for Human Rights Watch. When I read beyond their headlines, I am always amazed at how misleading the headlines actually are. The reality is that 40% of Burkina Faso is controlled by extremists, and Ibrahim Traoré is leading the struggle against them.
Yeah, that's what's happening. So if you hear any news from BBC about Burkina Faso, it's all lies. It's all lies. And mind you, you know BBC and all these NGOs are being owned by the Westerners. So they will force them to put up a negative information. They will force them to set up any propaganda, which is not right. So BBC and all these NGOs and WHR, and even that includes USAID, all of them, they are the ones funding all these arcades. They are the ones funding all these terrorists. They are. Listen to this. Look how many times all these Westerners has been in Africa just to fight all these terrorists. Look how long they've been in Nigeria. But what's happening? They're there to support. Are you sure they're there to support? They're not doing anything. They're actually the ones behind all these terrorists. They're the ones funding them so that they can keep being in Africa and then loot whatever resources Africans have, pretending that they're there to support them fight the terrorists. But no, that's a lie. They just want to be there so that they can take all the resources away. Look how long they've been there. They've been in Nigeria. They've been everywhere. How come the problem is not getting solved? Why is it not getting solved? Boko Haram have been there for forever. Nigerians have been fighting Boko Haram for years. For years. How come they're still there? I thought all these Westerners are there to support. No, they're not supporting anything. But they're the ones behind all these things. They're the ones funding them so that they can keep staying in Africa and then loot us. Yeah, that's the main reason why. So if any African country decide to stand up for themselves and they decide to, you know what, fight all these terrorists themselves and they don't want their help, it becomes a problem. Why? Because they're not going to get anything from it. If you're not getting to the solution of it and we want you to move to the side so we can fight our own battles, you don't understand. Why? Because they know we will go somewhere else for help. Somebody who is ready to support. They don't want it like that. They don't want you to go to Russia. They don't want you to go to China. They want you to come to them. The Europeans, like they want USA want you to come to them. UK and all these Germany, that's what they want, so that they can stay. France, so that they can stay and then take the resources for cheap. Your own resources, they will come and then take it, and then go refine it, make money out of it, and then send you chicken change. So if you heard over the weekend that BBC is saying Burkina Faso military team has unalived 100 civilians, that's all lies. That's all lies. Because I heard, you know what happened? When the Al-Qaeda extremists, they were coming in from the north. So I think Captain Ibrahim Traoré was alerted. But guess what? The man unleashed, I heard he unleashed like 3 drones. One was white and then 2 blacks. Okay? And then the black ones were the one from Russia. And trust me, all the drones dealt with them severely. It was the drones. I heard the 2 black ones were going in like this, spreading. They will come in a V shape and then do justice to them. And when they were running away, the white one was up in the sky watching. And the white one is the one from China. Yeah. It was the drones that dealt with them. And they retaliated by unaliving some civilians. So it wasn't the Burkina Faso military. Why are you spreading negative news? BBC, why? I think we should all stop following BBC. We shouldn't watch BBC at all. Because what they're putting out there is no good. Because BBC is being owned by all these Western world. We are done. Whether you like it or not, Africa is liberating itself. You all talk about human rights. For Africans, it's our human right to be independent, to be ourselves. So we're telling you that it's our human right to be ourselves. So leave us alone. And you're saying no. Why can't you leave us alone? It's human right for LGBTQ to do whatever, right? It's our human right to also do whatever that we want to do. We don't need your help. We don't need your support. So ladies and gentlemen, if you hear all these news from BBC, NGO, HRW, please, that's all lies. That's all lies. Don't listen to them. It's negative information that they're putting out there. All right? So we're still intact. Africa is coming together. We're forming an alliance. And this is African Revolution. All right? So let me know what you think. Put your comment at the comment section. If you haven't subscribed to the Famous Family, please do so. Become part of this Famous Family so that we can bring you any information that we get. All right? Like the video and also share the videos. And until we meet again, I'm your host, Shaolin Dekasa Harris. I'm out.